my name's Mandy and this is my channel Make It Sew. So today is Tuesday, February the 4th, and I'm here with my chat about what I've been up to, what I've bought if anything, and what I'm planning for the next week. So if you haven't watched my channel before, I hope this is something that'll be interesting to you, and if you've watched me before, thank you for joining me again today. So what have I been up to this week? Well, Tuesday after filming my vlog, I realised I was supposed to be joining the other hosts of Virtual Sewing Room for a chat. So I frantically filmed and then had the meeting and then edited and released it to you all that night. So it was a bit later than normal. And then I was hosting an actual virtual sewing room on the Thursday. So that was really good because I managed to actually do some sewing while I was hosting. And then I attended another virtual on, when was it? It was Tuesday, so Monday morning, and I managed to cut some things out. And then I also joined them this morning and carried on sewing what I'm wearing, which I'll talk about in a minute. At the weekend, I was off on the Saturday, so I travelled down to Walthamstow to meet up with my lovely friend Claire, and also people from the virtual sewing room, including Jenny and Bea, who I'll put a picture of us up here, and also people from Surrey Sews, who a few of them I've seen at the Red Hill Sewing Social, including Tania, who runs it from Just Let Me Sew. And we were going, long story, to Walthamstow Market, and along the streets there's lots of stalls, but there's actual fabric shops there, and I can't remember how many there were, but there were quite a few. I'd say at least 10, maybe more. So I said to them, I am not buying any fabric because I don't really need it, and it would only be something that I haven't got in my stash I would buy. So I'm going to show you what I bought in a minute, and I'm hoping you'll be quite impressed with what I bought and what I didn't buy. I only took a couple of photos, so I will put them up here for you to see. But it was a lovely day. It only took me about an hour and 40 minutes to drive down to Stratford, where I met my friend Claire, and then we got a bus and tube in. I suppose it was a tube, although it was quite noisy. And then it took me the same getting back, so I was back before 6 o'clock on Saturday night, and I was in bed by 9. I was shattered. Plus I was getting up at 5:30 the next morning for work, so I had to be sensible. But it was a really, really lovely day, and it was so nice to see everybody and chat about sewing and fabric, which, what more can we ask for? So that was what I've been up to. I have managed to make some garments, and you would have seen in my thumbnail for this video there is a slight fail as well, although I think it's one of those things that I will have to just go back to and see if I can fix it and make it a success. I finished what I'm wearing this afternoon, and it is the Tilly and the Buttons Stella hoodie, and what I did was I cut this out about 3 or 4 weeks ago, and I remember saying to you all, I've cut it out, but then other things got in the way, a few exciting makes that I wanted to do. So this morning I thought, right, I'm going to make this because it can't sit in my drawer. If not, it will just fester away and I'll keep putting it off. And it doesn't take long to sew up as long as things don't go wrong while you're sewing. So I managed to do this during the virtual sewing room and then this afternoon. So I made this in a size 8, which was the pattern size I had cut out for my daughter. But when I made her Stella hoodies, I did actually add a bottom band onto it, but I haven't had to with this one because her torso is longer than mine, but my legs, we think, are slightly longer than hers, but she's 5'10" and I'm 5'8", so somewhere in between we've managed to have a few differences. Like, for example, from my armpit to my waist, I measure an inch longer than she does. So it's really confusing. But I didn't add any length to the bodice pattern, but I did add 2 inches to the sleeves. So this did go quite nicely together, but I did have to unpick a couple of times on the cuffs purely because it kept wandering and coming away from where I was trying to sew it. So you can imagine what it was like trying to unpick on fleece, because it was cream thread I was using and I couldn't see it half the time. So the lining I used was spun poly, and it was part of the Alice in Wonderland print that I'd got from Knighton Fabrics, but I thought that just went nicely because I didn't really have anything else in my stash that would go. But I don't really want to be going and buying things just for linings, because I wouldn't have needed much and I hadn't seen any remnants, so I thought this went quite nicely. So that was my make today. I also managed to make a toaster sweater. I have already made a few of these, but this was some fleece, or this was part of the fleece pile that I found in my loft. I thought I only had 2 bits of fleece up there, but this sweatshirting was up there as well. And again, I'm going to put some pictures in because it's really difficult and I can't do a quick change without stopping filming. But this one is the toaster hoodie in a size XL, and I've just done it on my overlocker again, but I've actually hacked it. And I talked about this before, that I was really wanting to try and hack it so that I could have holes in the cuffs for my thumb to go through, so it acted like a fingerless glove. So what I did was I looked on good old Google, and the first tutorial that come up was from Tilly and the Buttons for the Bertha, I think it is, cardigan. If I've got it wrong, I will put it on the screen. And when I measured the actual cuff for the toaster sweater, it was very similar to the cuffs that they showed you to cut out. So I thought I would just go with it. And once I'd got my head around it, where I had to put my hand up inside to pull and hold on to seams, it made more sense, because obviously you don't want any raw edges showing. So you'll see that that's all enclosed, and it really does work, and I'm so happy I had a go at that. So that is another toaster sweater, which makes it 3 for me and 1 for my daughter, so 4 in total. But I'll show you on the pictures, and I'll do a little demonstration of the cuffs as well, and then you'll see what they look like. So that was another make. So far 2 sweaters and a present as well. I'm looking down at my notes because I've forgotten exactly what I made this week. So yes, this one isn't actually physically here because my friend Claire has received this, and it was part of her birthday gift that I've been secretly squirreling away and making. But what I'm going to do is put a little clip here of the penguin. I might mute what I was talking about and tell you about it afterwards. If not, it'll be all here. Meet Puddles the penguin. Here's a panel I bought from Knighton Fabrics. It's meant to be anti-pill fleece, but as you can see, there is a little bit of a bobble. So I'll just turn him round. And you've got the wings that are done with a ladder stitch. My first time of doing it, so I'm really chuffed with that. He's got little feet, again with ladder stitch. And then his tail. And then what you do is you make some clothes as well to go with him. Unfortunately, I don't think I've done his head quite as stuffed as the rest of his body, because if he's standing up now, come on Puddles, there we go. You've got this cute little hat, but as you can see, it's a big pig. So I've been doing it so that the seam lines up and it goes on him a bit better. I'm going to knock him over again because I'm doing this one-handed. Sorry, Puddles. Come on, stay where you are. There we go. And then you have this little scarf as well. So that can go round him in a minute. And as I'm doing this one-handed again, this is his jacket. So I'll put him on and then I'll show you what he looks like. And here he is, all nice and snuggly. So I'm hoping she'll like that, because I know she loves plushies and she loves penguins. So might change his hat size, we'll see. But he does look nice and snuggly. So that's the penguin, and Claire very kindly took a proper picture of it for me so that you can see what it looked like. But I actually had to do quite a lot of hand sewing, and it had been something I put off till I really had to do it, because I've never thought of myself as the neatest hand stitcher. But I went on to YouTube and found a really quick tutorial on how to do ladder stitch or slip stitch or invisible stitch. It's called several things, because I had to attach a lot of the limbs of the penguin on, including the wings, with ladder stitch. And I was really pleased. It actually come out a lot better than I thought it would. And it took me all day to do it, but I'm so chuffed, and just seeing Claire's face when she got it was really worth it. So that was the penguin. And then on to, unfortunately, a slight fail, and that is my sew over it Carly dress. So I'm going to show you it, and then I will try and take some photos or a little film of me in it so you can see what it looks like so far. I have finished it except for these two little bits, which is where I'm going to go and talk to you about now. So here she is on my mannequin. Unfortunately, my daughter's been borrowing it, so certain elements are not quite filled as they should be for my shape. But the first thing I did wrong was I had been sewing up my shacket for my daughter, the Connie casual shacket by Ellie and Mac, and their seam allowance was 1 centimetre, and because I was trying to do this one as well, I forgot that most sew over it patterns are 1.5 centimetres, so it's going to be that placket again. It must be me in plackets. So I'd sewed the placket on originally, and I'd done it at 1 centimetre. So of course everything was okay, and then when I went to put on the collar stand, it was meant to overlap by 1 centimetre, and it didn't, because obviously I hadn't done the seam allowance right for the placket. So being modal, I unpicked it, and it wasn't till I got to nearly finishing it that I noticed a tiny little bit has frayed or just not sat right to be enclosed. So I need to revisit that and try and fix it, because it would be a shame to not be able to wear it. But I can't take all the collar off again, because that could happen again and I could lose another bit. So I'll see on that. And the other thing, unfortunately, was because I unpicked it, where you've got the placket here, you have to stretch the fabric with a little T that you've cut out, or triangle that you cut out, and then sew it all through. And it's gone out of shape, and again a bit had not frayed, I suppose. I don't know, I suppose, I'm not sure quite what, but because I tried to capture it all in again, I have got a tuck. So I'm going to have to really carefully unpick that and see if I can correct that, because again, it would be a shame not to be able to wear it. What do I think of this pattern? I'm not sure that I would rush back and do it because of the way they do the collar stand, and I'm hoping that if I turn Doris round, you'll be able to see it. If not, again, I will film some. But you have all the raw edges at the bottom here of the collar stand, and you have to bind it all in and then hand stitch it, which obviously by the time I finished the penguin, I felt I was quite an expert at that. So I just don't know about it because of how you finish it, and then you have to tuck the end of the binding onto the right side, and they don't say about tucking in the ends of it either to make it neat. So I'm not sure I like how that's finished. Is it classed as a fail? I'll let you know. I think at the moment I feel like it is, because of the two things that are still screaming out at me that they're not finished properly. But other than that, it is a finished dress. So that was my make this week. As to what I bought at Walthamstow Market, well, that's not going to take long to show you, because I only bought 2 bits of fabric, which is more than I said I would buy, but both of these things are fabrics that I needed in order to make some more Connie casual shackets. Now, I did show you some purple, grey and creamy coloured check I'd purchased from Knighton Fabrics, but I haven't cut it out yet because I'm not sure if those checks are going to be too big for the shacket. So while I was at Walthamstow, I found this fabric, and they said it was a wool mix. I have washed it in the machine and nothing's happened to it, so I'm not sure what it's mixed with, but there you go, there's that one. But it isn't purple as such, it's more like a vivid blue, but I just liked how the blue popped out of that one. So I'm going to start my Connie casual shacket collection with this one. I only bought 2 meters, so I'm really hoping that that's enough to make it in the same length as I did my daughter's, but I will need to adjust the length by that 1 inch on my waist part. And then because she loved her shacket so much, my friend Claire was buying this fabric and I thought, yeah, I'll get some. So I bought 3 meters of this one, and they say it's a brushed cotton. So I have washed it again and it seems okay, but it felt really soft. I did find a few of the fabrics that I liked the look of, especially purple ones. When I actually felt the fabrics, they didn't feel very nice, and I thought I wouldn't enjoy wearing those because I like to think that I could have something a bit softer. A lot of them had a lot of polyester mix in with them, so that did put me off, but I was trying to be very ruthless and mindful of what I was buying, so that's why I only ended up with 2 items. Total of 5 meters, and I did buy some large cam snaps for if I do any more bags. So I think it probably cost me more to get there and park at Stratford than I actually spent, but it wasn't about the fabric purchases for me, it was about the company, and I had such a lovely day with everybody that it was worth it just for that. So that was my purchases. Other than that, what am I up to for the rest of the week? Well, firstly, it's Tuesday the 4th of February, and I just want to say a massive happy 50th birthday to Sam from So Let's Sparkle with Sam. I did get to see her earlier on the virtual and we all wished her a happy birthday, but why not say it again? You're only 50 once, so I hope you're having a fab time, Sam. And then tomorrow I am having my boiler looked at, because when I got home Saturday night, the heating and hot water had decided not to work anymore, and so the boiler man's coming tomorrow morning and hopefully we will have some hot water. The warmth side of it isn't so bad, although it is quite cold at the moment, but we do have a wood burner, so we've just been using that during the day to heat the house so it doesn't get too damp. And Thursday is a very special day, and that's because it's my birthday. Unfortunately, I'm not 50 again, I'm 52, so my husband is having some time off work because I'd like to go fabric shopping at Legend Textiles, which some people might think what a sad thing to want to do on your birthday, but why not? I've noticed a little gap in my stash of plain cotton fabrics, and I know that Josh does some quilting cottons for a very reasonable price, so I'm going to go and have a look at those, and we're probably going to have either afternoon tea or lunch, and then I'm off the rest of the weekend. I'm actually off till the 22nd of February, which sounds crazy, but I'm sure it'll go very quickly, but it's just nice to have a break sometimes. And Monday, which will be the 10th, it's my husband's birthday, so more celebrations going on. So yeah, other than that, lots of sewing. I actually managed to cut out my Stylas Taos top that I'm actually doing a collaboration with some lovely people. I'll put them all in the description box. And so I'm hoping to start sewing it up now. After doing the fleece, I have to say I have actually had to hoover my room 3 times today, and obviously the Stylas Taos, I've used some fleece I showed in a previous video, so I had to hoover last night as well. So I don't think my room has actually seen the hoover quite so much in the last few days as it has for a long while. So that is really what I'm planning, to get that done. Still trying to make my mind up what frock towel dress I want to make. I did have some ideas, but looking with the fabric I want to use, I don't think it would look right. So I've got to revisit that and get my act together, because March will come around very quickly. So I'm hoping to also finally make up the Aurora sweater. As I've done this one today, I think that's going to be possible with a few days off work. Oh yes, and this Friday, I forgot, I'm going to Walpole, because I haven't been there for about a month, so it will be so great to see everybody again and catch up with what they've been doing. So if you find any time this week to do some sewing, make it so. Take care. Bye for now.